So today in class we talked about identifying linear equations. We looked at intercepts and zeros, and that was your assignment today. The lesson as we get ready for tomorrow is to graph linear equations. We did this a little bit last year. We'll definitely delve into it more this year. Tomorrow is a great day to bring graph paper for the assignment. So the first way to graph a linear equation is to make a table. And we did this last year. Their way is a little more complicated than what I would do. We're using the equation y equals 1/2 x minus 3. So rather than setting up the chart they use here, and you certainly can use that chart, I would use a simple t-chart. So I'm going to delete that, and I would just go, okay, we have our x value, we have our y value. And typically when we do this, we want to find about 3 different values. So I'm using the equation y equals 1/2 x minus 3, and I'm going to select x values. Because I'm using a half, I'm going to use multiples of 2 so that it's easy to work with. So I might use 2, I might use 0, and -2. So on the first equation, when I put 2 in, y equals 1/2 2 minus 3. That's going to give us y equals 1 minus 3, and y equals -2. So the first point we have is the ordered pair, 2, -2. Okay, and that went a little off my recording area. I apologize for that. I'll slide it over. And so we come over and we graph that. 2, come over 2, down 2. We should be about there. Then I'd go ahead and go back to the original equation, and this time we're going to substitute 0 in where x was. So y equals 1/2 times 0, which is 0. Y ends up being -3. So at the point 0, we have -3. 1, 2, 3 down, right about there. And that's not a -0, that was just my pen hitting the board. Okay, then we go back to the equation, and this time we're going to plug in -2. Again, those are values that I selected. I don't have to use those numbers, you don't have to use those numbers. I usually just try and pick ones that are going to be easy to work with. So in this case, y equals -1 minus 3. So that's going to be -4. So my ordered pair on that one would be -2, -4. And so we can think of that. And again, I think the t-chart's easier than the table that they use. So then I come over to the point -2, down 4. Once I have 3 dots, we can connect them, make a straight line. And I'd say use 3 as the minimum if this is the method that we're using. Okay. Taking a look at the next slide, when y equals -2. In this one, I keep trying to come back to where we have x equals something and y equals something, just so that we start seeing those. Those sometimes take students a while to grasp. So no matter what I put in for x, y is always going to be at -2. If we think of this in standard form, it's 0x plus 1 equals -2. 0x simply is 0, but if I made a t-chart for this, and I want to put in, let's just do -3, 0, and 3. Again, these are just 3 random numbers I picked. You could have picked anything. When I put -3 in for x, we go 0 times -3. That's 0. I should say plus y, sorry about that. Plus y equals -2. Well, this is 0, and so we have y equals -2. Then when I go back to the equation of 0x plus y equals -2, and for x I put in 0. 0 times 0 is 0, and we're left with y equals -2. And if I were to put 3 in, where a would be in our standard form. And keep in mind x is 0, because 3 times 0 is 0, and we're left with y equals -2 again. So in all of these, I would have a point at -2 going horizontally, and we'd have a line like so. And hopefully we just come to a point where we know that y equals 3 would end up being a horizontal line at 3. Okay, so go ahead, try these using a T-chart, see how you do. I'll graph one line in blue and one line in red and go from there. But again, try this on your own. So we have x, we have y. Let's go -1, 0, and 1. My points might not match your points that you selected, and that's okay. The lines still should go through the same areas. So when we put in -1, we get -y equals 0, and we're going to have to add 1, and we're going to get -y. Let me move this over a little bit. -1 minus y equals 0. We can go ahead and add y. We get -1 equals y. So when I put -1 in for x, y ends up being -1. Now when I put 0 in, I'm going to go 0 minus y equals 0. -y equals 0. Positive y equals 0. And in the next one, they're asking, or I selected that x is 1. So 1 minus y equals 0. Trying to solve for y at this point. 1 equals y. I added y to each side. So I should have -1, -1, 0, 0, 1, 1. A line increasing from left to right, going like so. When x equals 3, again, if I were to put this into standard form, ax plus by equals c, I don't see a y value, so that tells us b is 0. Whatever I put in for y in this case, I can't put anything other than 3 for x's. And this one was a little tricky to graph on your own. Whatever I put in, -10 or 0 or 1, I'm going to have a line that's coming through at 3, and it's going to end up being a vertical line. So again, putting that one, hoping we gain an understanding. So that's one way we can make a T-chart and graph a line. A second way that some students end up preferring is to use the x and the y intercept. And we can mathematically find what those are, and we'll go through that. I'm going to move these down a bit. So to find the x-intercept, we let y in the equation be 0. So we'll go 3x plus 2 times 0 equal 9. And then at this point, we're going to solve for x. 3x plus 0 equals 9. Divide by 3, we get x equals 3. And so our ordered pair would be 3, and we put in 0. So we know that the x-intercept is at 3, 0. 1, 2, 3. When I find the y-intercept, I'm going to use the same equation, but we let x be 0. 3 times 0 is 0, so we're left with 2y equals 9. Divide by 2 and we get y equals 9/2, or 4.5. The ordered pair for that would be 0, 4.5. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4.5, right about here. So we're coming with a negative sloping line. I didn't draw that one perfectly, about like so. And again, with 2 points, I can graph a line. And that's why some people prefer this. When we're given standard form, it's easy to put in to find our x and y intercept and then graph a line. So here's a couple that you could try if you can find the intercept, and then try and graph them. I'm going to copy the graph and paste it over here. So for the first one, again, to find the y-intercept, we let x equal 0. So in this one, we're going to go y equals -3 minus 0. Solve for that. Y equals -3. So we have the ordered pair 0, -3. 1, 2, 3, right about there. And to find the x-intercept, we let y equals 0, so 0 equals -3 minus x. I want the x to be positive, so I'm going to add x to both sides. And we get x equals -3. So we're at -3, 0. That would be about here. And we'll make this one off in red. It would look like so. The next one, again, if I want to find the x-intercept, I let y equal 0. When we do that, x plus 0 equals 10. So x equals 10. And our ordered pair for that would be 10, 0. Find the the x-intercept. I'll let y be 0. So x plus, let's go back the other way. 0 plus 4y equals 10. 4y equals 10. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Y equals 2 2/4 or 2.5. So we have the ordered pair at 0, 2.5. Now I have the information I need to plot the points. I have 10, 0, that's over here. And then I have 0, 2.5 about here. And we get a line roughly through there. So that kind of wraps up today's lesson. We'll get a fair amount of time to practice this tomorrow in class. Please watch the video, take notes, and come prepared to ask questions for what you may have questions on and need clarification.